So, before we do the assessment today, let's just look at what you need to be thinking about when you start breathing life into your descriptions. Well, to write well today, you're going to describe a scene. Now, sometimes when I've asked you to describe a scene, many of you start writing a story about the character did this, and then they did this, and then that happened. That is wrong. You are not trying to tell a story or tell the plot of a story. When I ask you to describe a scene, I want you to describe what it looks like, sounds like, feels like, smells like, or tastes like to be there. There can be some action, but it will not be sort of a plot. The action would be something like, the breeze gently swaying the leaves and things like that. Just a simple action. So you are going to use descriptive language today and use figurative language to try and paint a picture of what it feels like to be there in the scene. Now, before we look at what we really need to do, let's look at what we don't want to do. Writing badly. So have a look. What's wrong with this? The thief snatched the bag as fast as a cheetah and ran away down the street. Now, can you see the figurative language? But there's something wrong with this figurative language. Let me show you. The thief snatched the bag as fast as a cheetah and ran away down the street. As fast as a cheetah is a simile, so this seems pretty good. But cheetahs don't snatch, do they? Cheetahs do the running. That's what they're famous for. So we should change it and improve it. The thief snatched the bag and ran away as fast as a cheetah down the street. So this is an example of someone who tried to use a simile, as fast as a cheetah, but they've kind of put it in the wrong place. So when you make a simile today, make sure you're putting it in the correct place. Here's another one. What's wrong with this? The racing car drove past. Vroom. How could you improve this? Brum. Okay, that's a car noise. But really, just brum. And is it loud? It's not all in capital letters, is it? And this is a racing car we're talking about. So what would you do? The racing car drove past. Now, you could write brum all in capital letters to make it sound loud, but it is a racing car and it's driving past you. So first it will be far away, and then it's going to get very loud as it passes you, and then start to get quieter as it drives further away from you. How about this? Racing cars have very loud, powerful engines. The racing car drove past. Now that would sound like a racing car. What's wrong with this? The monster was a raging beast. It's kind of descriptive. But hold on a moment. What the monster was a raging beast. Is this supposed to be a metaphor? Comparing a monster to a beast is like comparing ice to frozen water. Do you see? The ice was like frozen water. Well, it is frozen water, so it's not a very good comparison, So you need to find something different to compare it to, and a beast is kind of similar to a monster. Now, if this monster was raging, like extremely angry and violent and lashing out with all its limbs, then we would try to think, what does that look like, or what is that action like? You could come up with anything. Here's one. The monster was a whirling typhoon of destruction. So we are saying the monster is just as powerful and as deadly and dangerous as a whirling typhoon, destroying everything. This is a better metaphor. Now, when you start, or before you start describing a picture today, you need to plan what you're going to do. Now, here's a picture of a storm, and we could think up different things like nouns, like we have a lighthouse, we have sailors, we have the wind, we have some screams, a ship, we have waves, we have water, a pier, okay? Verbs and powerful verbs, adjectives and adverbs. You know, we have words like fear, shrieks. This is a noun, but it can also be used as personification or something like that. But we're going to take these words that we plan and see if we can also make a simile with some of them. Maybe make a metaphor. We could use some of them as personification. And if we do a bit of thinking, we could come up with alliteration, maybe even an idiom. Your job today is to try and include not just one simile and think that will do. No, that will fail. And not just one simile and one metaphor. That will also fail. You really need to be using one of these, one of these, one of these, and one of these, you know, at least 4 different types of figurative language, as well as good nouns and verbs and powerful verbs, adverbs and adjectives. So if I'm going to plan, first I need to think, what is my mood? What is my atmosphere? Now this is a storm, so I'm going to say it's a ferocious storm. So all the words I think of have to help me come up with ferocious as an idea, as a mood. I'm not going to come up with words like sea breeze, because that's just too weak. So I'm going to think of some words. How about wild, dangerous, powerful, threatening, violent, cruel, brutal, rage? I've got lots of adjectives here. I could change them into verbs and say threaten, okay? I could take a word like dangerous, which is an adjective, and I could make it into an adverb, dangerously, or make it into the noun, danger. So I can do a lot with these words, and they all help to make the mood ferocious. Next, I need to come up with something like a simile or a metaphor. I could describe the wind was like this, or the waves were like that. If this is near the coast, there will be cliffs. So how about the waves hit the cliffs like fists? So here is my simile. Now, something else, maybe a metaphor. The wind was a howling wolf, saying that it was a howling wolf because of the sort of shrieking sounds that a strong wind is going to make. So there's a metaphor. Next, I might want to come up with more words now for like the sounds. Howl, scream, cry, roar, thunder, shriek, shout, bellow. And I could use any of these. I could use them as verbs or nouns. Now, I might not use all of these words, but when I start writing, I've got a lot to choose from. So I don't use the same words again and again. Every word is a different word. Now, I can go on and I could come up with some personification. Okay, even if I just say it, the waves hit something cruelly or powerfully, or as I said, dangerously. If the wind is doing that, then that is personification. If the waves are doing that, it's personification. And of course, if I think of alliteration, I could put in another W word here, the wild waves, or the wild wind. Okay, just doing it with 2 words is not strong alliteration, but doing it with 3 words or 4 words in a sentence makes better alliteration. Now let's see what I could come up with if I put all this together. The wild and raging storm bellowed angrily from the ripped and ragged night sky. Monstrous waves brutally beat and battered the cliffs like 1,000 furious fists, and the wild, wild wind was a rabid wolf that shrieked and howled relentlessly. The mighty ship was just a tiny child's toy, cruelly tossed by the merciless ocean. Now, I've got adjectives, wild and raging storm. But it bellowed. Here's a sound. And it did it angrily. So here is personification. From the ripped and ragged night sky. Ripped and ragged. This is my alliteration. And just saying night sky helps to build up this mood of something. It's not a nice clear blue sky day. It's a dark and scary scene. Now I've got monstrous waves, an adjective to describe the waves, brutally beat and battered. Again, more alliteration. Plus they're powerful verbs. Brutally beat and battered the cliffs like 1,000 furious fists. Furious fists, alliteration. And this is my simile. And the wild, wild wind was a rabid wolf. Lots of alliteration. And it was a rabid wolf. This is my metaphor. That shrieked and howled relentlessly. Here's my adverb. The mighty ship was just a tiny child's toy. Here is another metaphor. Cruelly tossed by the merciless ocean. So cruel and merciless is personification. And you can say that shrieked and howled, these 2 words are a type of onomatopoeia. They are the sounds that we can hear. So I've got, let's see, let's count the sentences. We've got 1 sentence, 2 sentences, 3 sentences, 4 sentences, and it totals 53 words. 53 words. In only 53 words, I've included personification, alliteration a couple of times, simile, metaphor, and so on. So I've achieved the task which is to use at least 4 different types of figurative language and adjectives and adverbs, and it all helps to create this mood of a ferocious storm in only 53 words. Now, that's how you do it. Now, you do it. So, your task is to use no less than 50 words, minimum of 50 words, but do not write more than 100 words. Okay? Now, mine was 53 words in 4 sentences. So if you used 100, you might be doing 8 sentences or something. It's still not much to write. But even when you think you've finished, go and count. How many adjectives have you used? Have you used different adjectives, or do you keep using the same adjective again and again? If you keep using the same one, use a thesaurus. Look online for a thesaurus and find better, different adjectives. Make sure you've got adverbs and at least 4 different types of figurative language. Doing 4 similes is not achieving this task. I want 4 different types, okay? And these are the pictures. You can choose one of these pictures. You could choose an alien landscape. Now, it doesn't have to look exactly like this. Use your imagination. But what does it look like? And think first, what is the mood or the feeling of being on this alien landscape? Or a scene where it is very still and quiet and everything is covered in ice. Maybe you're in the Arctic Ocean, for example. Or a beautiful sunrise. It doesn't have to be next to the lake. It could be in Africa, looking over the plains of Africa if you wanted. Or something about water and splashing. Now, what's the mood? Is it pleasant? Is it nice? Is it bright, fresh, sparkling water? Is it playful? Or something to do with stars, beautiful stars in the night sky, maybe some shooting stars. Okay, so choose one of those topics and then write between 50 and 100 words and make sure you include all of that descriptive, figurative language. Okay, that's all.